They said he was America's favorite late-night host, the affable comedian who never missed a chance to flash that famous grin and spin a joke that felt like a warm hug. But deep beneath the stage lights and roaring laughter, Jay Leno carried a secret that simmered for decades. Tonight, at age 75, the man who built his empire on clean jokes, family values, and unwavering loyalty finally shatters the silence. He admits that a rumor he fought for 40 years, an explosive affair that could have upended his marriage, his career, and his reputation, was partially true. And as he cares for his wife, Mavis, in the cruel grip of dementia, he's pledged to reveal every jaw-dropping detail in a memoir destined to shock Hollywood's elite. From the very first moment, this revelation hooks us with promise and peril. What drives a man known for niceness to embrace a secret so powerful? How does a confession change the way we view the husband, the host, and the hero we thought we knew so well? In the next few minutes, we'll navigate the twists and turns of Jay's journey, cradled between laughter and heartbreak. Imagine New Rochelle, New York, in the early 1950s. A toddler named Jay sits wide-eyed in his family's modest living room, entranced by two contrasting melodies. From his mother, Catherine, the lilting Scottish lullabies that drifted through the night, each note a testament to her unyielding hope for a new life in America. From his father, Angelo, the rapid, fire-sales pitches he practiced in the hallway, hunting for every possible dollar. Catherine had crossed the ocean at 11, tongue-tied by a foreign tongue, promising herself her children would grow up fearless and industrious. The Angelo chased quotas with relentless fervor, careening through 3 states in a single day just to land one more sale. Young Jay learned early that humor and hustle were his keys to survival. Yet school was a different kind of battleground. Dyslexia turned each page into a maze of letters, spelling out confusion and doubt. Classmates thought he was slow. Teachers urged him to drop out. But instead of shrinking away, Jay weaponized his challenge. He began scribbling jokes backward in notebooks, forcing his brain to adapt. In 1st grade, he stumbled through phonics. By 8th grade, he'd filled dozens of journals with punchlines he'd read and rewrite until they glittered. Each rejection added fuel to his fire. At 17, Jay sneaked into the school's announcement booth, broadcasting a fake weather alert about teacher layoffs. The prank earned him a 3-day suspension, but it also ignited a legend. Word spread this kid could turn obstacles into opportunities. Pizza deliveries at Tony's in Andover became his testing ground for punchlines. He phoned ahead pretending to be an anxious dad, shaving precious seconds off his routes. Clipboard in hand, grease stains on his jacket, he rated every joke on a scale of 1 to 10. One snowy February night in 1966, he traded 2 pizzas for 5 minutes on a college party stage. A gag about anchovies and snow chains won him $22 in tips and his first paid gig. The moment stuck. Boston's Emerson College admitted him largely out of pity for his reading struggles, but Jay saw it as a stage. While he missed lectures, he filled the local strip mall cafe open mic, honing his craft until it gleamed. He even busted a rival comic over stolen material, earning a chipped tooth and the chin-forward silhouette that would become his trademark. By the time he slipped into Los Angeles in 1973 with 350 and a rusty Chevy, Jay had mastered 2 things: survival and showmanship. The Tonight Show stage beckoned. After a shaky debut extended by Johnny Carson's cue cards, Jay weathered the sting of Carson's silent disapproval. He quietly courted NBC bigwigs, refusing to play the knave guest host role. When the network bypassed David Letterman in favor of him in 1992, the dust-up split Hollywood in two. Loyalty tests, backroom promises, and rumors of betrayal rippled through Tinseltown. Yet ratings soared, and the network smiled. Still, every triumph came with a shadow. In the mid-90s, Jay's relentless OJ jokes stormed the airwaves as the nation watched a trial-turned-circus. Critics accused him of cruelty, fans couldn't get enough. Then came the backstage bans, the blackbeats, the firing of longtime manager Helen Kushnick under NBC's orders. Lawsuits over stolen jokes and errant comedians pitted him against the very community that had lifted him. Contrast this with his private life, the deep bond with Mavis, the woman born on the same September 5th birthday as his previous four partners. Their marriage in 1980 was never a fairy tale. It was a pact of loyalty and endurance. When rumors of an affair surfaced in the 80s, Jay slammed every rumor to the wall. Now, he confesses parts of it were true. In the next section, we'll explore the origins of that rumor, the woman at the center of the storm, and how this partial truth threatened to dismantle the world Jay had built. We'll witness a man torn between love and ambition, and how a career forged in comedy could coalesce into chaos when one secret refused to stay buried. Every rumor needs a spark. For Jay Leno, that spark ignited in the mid-1980s when he was carving his path on late-night television. At the peak of Tonight Show's success, whispers began to swirl about a mysterious woman known only as Eleanor. She wasn't a Hollywood actress or a headline-hunting model. Instead, she worked as a stage manager at an off-Broadway venue where Jay felt instantly drawn to her quick wit, generous spirit, and compassionate heart. What started as professional admiration quickly morphed into clandestine dinners, whispered phone calls, and coded love letters. Their connection felt electric, magnetic, and genuinely unbreakable, but it also carried the risk of tearing his entire world apart if it ever came to light. Tabloids thrived on stories they could never fully prove. By 1987, paparazzi had snapped blurry photographs of Jay in a delivery van parked outside Eleanor's apartment. They ran side by side. Leno's signature chin profile contrasted with the outline of a woman wearing her hair in a loose bun. Without names, the story spread as an anonymous affair, fueling conspiracy theories on daytime talk shows. Producers whispered about quid pro quo, jokes on Tonight Show that seemed tailored for someone with insider knowledge of backstage drama. Fans debated whether Jay's perpetual grin mask concealed a man torn between love and loyalty. Eleanor and Jay kept their rendezvous under strict codes. He would arrive at backstage loading docks wearing oversized sunglasses and a fake mustache borrowed from his comedy props. She used a burner phone, leaving messages like "Operation Stardust at midnight." Once, they met at a deserted recording studio, where Jay improvised jokes about vinyl grooves and vintage microphones, just to see her laugh. Those moments away from the camera reflected a side of him the world never knew: vulnerable, sincere, craving genuine connection. Yet every stolen second carried the weight of potential devastation if the cameras ever found them. Back home, Jay wrestled with guilt. Mavis sensed a shift long before anyone else. She noticed lost phone records and late-night rehearsals under the guise of writing monologue material. Yet, she never confronted him directly. Their bond had always been rooted in mutual respect and unspoken understanding. But secrets breed distance. Jay began to view his own reflection with suspicion, questioning whether ambition had blinded him to the vows he once believed unbreakable. Every success on national television became tinged with anxiety. Was his empire built on laughter or on a foundation of silent betrayal? Faced with mounting gossip, Jay chose the weapon he knew best, the strategic denial. He issued succinct one-liners on air, joking, "The only affair I'm having is with comedy." But off the record, he retained top crisis management consultants who fended off subpoenas for unflattering photographs. Eleanor's phone would ring with threatening calls from tabloid offices. One investigative reporter even suggested submitting a blood test to prove paternity claims. Though he could quash one rumor with a joke, the unrelenting speculation made every smile feel like a mask. Audiences adored his self-deprecating charm, but critics wondered if laughter could truly dispel scandal. In private, Jay and Mavis drifted into a delicate truce of coexistence. They hosted galas and sat together on red carpets, projecting the image of unwavering partnership. Offstage, they shared rehearsed anecdotes about meeting by accident, painting a picture of serendipity. But truth has a way of leaching through the cracks. Mavis would retreat into her own world, spending hours flipping through photo albums when Jay was away on tour. He caught her tears in her rearview mirror as she watched his old Tonight Show episodes alone. That silent heartbreak haunted him, even as he silenced the world with punchlines. Over time, Jay mastered the art of compartmentalization. He built walls between the studio stage and his private sanctum, treating the rumor as a metastasizing joke he could never truly kill. Scriptwriters sprinkled red herring lines into his monologues, daring tabloid editors to dig deeper. Still, every time he stepped before the camera, he carried a question in his smile. Could he sustain the lie forever? With each passing decade, the rumor became a phantom limb, felt but unseen, toxic but untouchable. When the first inkling of Mavis's dementia emerged, Jay buried his secret deeper, trusting that the world's empathy would eclipse old scandals. Years later, as Jay began drafting his memoir, he confronted the truth he had spent a lifetime evading. The decision to reveal even part of the affair came after a long night beside his wife's bedside, a silent vow that honesty, however painful, was the only path to redemption. In the pages to come, Eleanor's identity will be unveiled, the depth of their connection laid bare, and the consequences measured. Next, we will dissect how this confession reshapes our understanding of Jay Leno's legacy and what it reveals about the price of fame. Months rolled into years, and the Eleanor affair morphed from whispered gossip into a persistent shadow over Jay's career. Late, night talkers aimed barbs at his name, implying that every crafted monologue hid coded confessions. Tabloid headlines transformed. Jay Leno spotted outside an actress's home, into clickbait that landed like a punch to his reputation. Each headline became another brick in the wall, separating him from the public persona he had spent decades nurturing. A jovial everyman who never strayed from the straight and narrow. In the studio, Jay's writers grew cagey. Producers hesitated to book guests who might fan the flames of scandal. One night, an up-and-coming comedian nearly dropped a gag suggesting Jay was auditioning for Mavis's replacement as well as the Tonight Show chair. The offhand line caused a ripple of nervous laughter and abruptly shut down the writer's room. Underneath the laughter lay a collective fear. What if humor itself became the agent of Jay's undoing? At home, the atmosphere shifted. The Mavis moved through rooms with caution, her intuition sharper than any gossip columnist's instincts. She found half-burnt letters in Jay's study trash bin, ink smeared, words torn, alternate endings scrawled in pencil. Her heart clenched at every clue, yet she never demanded proof. She guarded her pride and their legacy by composing silent letters she never mailed, compiling questions she never asked. The weight of unspoken doubt settled between them like an unwelcome guest. Yet Jay refused to be cornered. On air, he developed the Denial Sonata, a three-part joke structure that began by self-mockery, circled through absurd exaggeration, and ended with a wink, an unspoken message that everything was under control. Fans ate it up. Ratings ticked higher. Network executives chortled at audience loyalty. But behind that success lay an exhaustion that only late-night hosts know. The relentless demand to be witty, unflappable, and scandal-free. By 1995, the rumor had inspired a sub-industry of conspiracy theorists. Online message boards exploded with theories. Eleanor wasn't a stage manager at all, but a ghostwriter for Jay's most biting jokes. Others claimed she was an estranged Rockefeller heiress, funding Jay's charitable ventures in secret. In reality, Eleanor was a modest woman with a knack for logistics and a laugh that made Jay crack up in ways no producer ever had. The contrast between myth and truth became emblematic of Jay's struggle, his public image infected by fantasy, his private reality drowned by false narratives. When Mavis's first slip-ups became noticeable, moments of confusion on stage introductions, misplacing her purse, calling Jay by his middle name, the irony gnawed at him. The golden couple, paragons of stability, now confronted vulnerabilities neither had anticipated. As Mavis's dementia progressed, Jay took on the mantle of caregiver, a role he embraced with the same discipline he once applied to comedy. The laughter lines around his eyes deepened, not from punchlines, but from sleepless nights and endless vigil at her bedside. In one poignant season of Tonight Show reruns, a graphic mentioning Jay's romantic misunderstanding popped up on screen. The joke was innocuous in isolation, but in context of Mavis's illness, it landed like a knife. Audiences cheered the gag, oblivious to the real man behind the grin, someone who no longer had the luxury of compartmentalizing personal pain behind showbiz bravado. That moment crystallized the tension between entertainment and empathy, between the facade of clean humor and the messy truths of human vulnerability. As Jay prepared for a national special commemorating his 50 years in comedy, the rumor stalked every promotional photo op. Paparazzi shadowed his motorcade, hoping to catch a glimpse of Eleanor's silhouette in the backseat. Rumors about secret paternity tests circulated. When Jay gave a heartfelt speech about gratitude and forgiveness, 1,000 Twitter pokes reminded followers of the other woman. The public's appetite for scandal proved insatiable. They wanted more than jokes, they craved confession. In boardrooms, NBC executives debated the value of keeping Jay on air. One senior producer argued that his fall from grace would cripple ratings for years. Another suggested reorienting the show around fresh talent. Only Jay's ironclad contract and fan loyalty kept him anchored. Behind closed doors, the network urged a final gambit: go public or go home. That ultimatum set the stage for Jay's late night revelation at 75, a moment scripted long before his memoir landed on bookshelves. Tonight, when Jay's weathered voice breaks the news, the roar of applause will jolt through TV speakers, but the real drama lies backstage. There, in the hush of green rooms and dressing areas, he will trade punchlines for apologies, rehearsed snickers for raw emotion. The same man who once chuckled through near death burns and broken bones will confront the gaping wound of a secret that cost him more than audience share. It cost him the unguarded trust of his lifelong partner. What happens next will rewrite the narrative. Will audiences forgive the partial truth? Can laughter repair what secrecy harmed? As we prepare to witness Jay Leno's confession, the only certainty is that the man behind the myth is about to emerge. Flawed, honest, and undeniably human. The theater lights dim to a soft glow, and the audience leans forward, sensing that tonight's show will be unlike any other. Jay Leno strides out in his signature dark suit, but the usual swagger is tempered by the weight of decades spent hiding a truth. He opens with a self-deprecating grin. "I've been keeping a secret longer than most marriages last." And the crowd nervously laughs, instinctively aware that something profound is about to unfold. His voice carries the familiar cadence of late night banter, but each pause ripples with vulnerability. This is Jay Leno unvarnished, stepping off the comedic tightrope to stand exposed, one truth at a time. He begins by revisiting the legend of Eleanor without naming her directly, framing their story as a youthful duel between heart and duty. "I was young, ambitious, and thought I could have it all," he admits. The lines between joke and confession blur. He recounts coded messages and midnight rendezvous with warm nostalgia, then shifts to the darker undertones, how every stolen moment felt like a betrayal lurking behind applause. The transition is seamless. Laughter gives way to hush, and hush to palpable empathy. He describes the first time guilt pierced his conscience, at the very moment he realized the price of his ambition was measured not in ratings, but in hidden tears. As the memoir's details unfurl, Jay reveals the truth the tabloids only guessed at. He names Eleanor at last, acknowledging her by her real name and recounting the moment. He recognized that their connection had crossed a line. "I didn't set out to hurt anyone," he says, voice thick, "but I did. And I am profoundly sorry." The confession doesn't absolve him, but it rescues him from the prison of denial. He explains why he chose "partially true" as the phrase, because some anecdotes were misremembered, exaggerations born from rumor, while others reflected a genuine betrayal of trust. By dissecting each memory, he refuses to let uncertainty linger. Throughout, the camera captures close-ups of Mavis seated beside him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of confusion and pride. Viewers watch her reaction as Jay extends gratitude for her strength, acknowledging that she endured the spectacle of late-night fame and the silent agony of suspicion. He thanks crisis managers and spin doctors for protecting his career, but he reserves his deepest apology for the one person who deserved it most. He kneels beside Mavis's chair, offering her a handwritten letter pulled from his jacket pocket. A gesture that transforms the stage into an intimate living room. The audience hushes, some wipe tears, others hold breath. The shared moment forges a new bond between performer and public. When the applause finally rises, it's tentative at first, then building into a thunderous ovation. Networks interrupt their usual programming with headlines that celebrate Leno's candid confession and analyze the potential fallout. Social media ignites with debates. Did Jay finally earn our empathy? Or has his reputation been irrevocably altered? Has he traded the illusion of perfect loyalty for the messy truth of human frailty? Podcasts dissect each syllable. While late, night competitors tiptoe around the story, some offering sympathetic commentary, others cynically questioning timing and motive. But across platforms, the same question echoes: can honesty heal what deception broke? Backstage, Jay folds his suit jacket, exhaustion and relief mingling in equal measure. He meets with Mavis in the green room, where she gestures to join her on the couch. He sits carefully on the edge, and they share a quiet embrace that speaks volumes. Their team captures footage of this unscripted moment for the special's closing montage. A testament to resilience over scandal. As they hold hands, Jay whispers, "Thank you for staying." Mavis offers a fragile smile, and in that exchange, the viewers glimpse the beating heart of the story, two people who chose partnership over pretense, even when the world demanded perfection. In the days that follow, Jay Leno's memoir surges to the top of bestseller lists. Critics praise his candor, fans applaud his humility. Television retrospectives reassess his legacy with fresh nuance, acknowledging the cost of comedy built on clean, cut values. Meanwhile, Jay returns to his garage, sliding behind the wheel of a collector car as a symbolic return to roots, where he is free from spotlights and scripts. He drives through the streets at dawn, contemplating a future unbound by hidden chapters. In that solitary hum of engine and road, he senses uncharted freedom, the relief of truth told, the possibility of redemption, and the promise of laughter untainted by secret sorrow. The days after Jay's on-air confession resembled a seismic shift in his universe. Morning shows buzzed with pundits parsing every nuance of his apology. Podcasts replayed his voice line by line. Social feeds overflowed with memes, juxtaposing his old grin against the new, more sober expression he wore when admitting fault. Yet amid the swirling commentary, one quieter narrative took shape, the story of a man reclaiming ownership of his own life. Behind every rumor, every redacted truth, lay a simple human need: to be honest, to be forgiven, and to rebuild without layers of protective spin doctors. In homes across the country, fans tuned their televisions not out of voyeuristic hunger for scandal, but out of curiosity. Could the real Jay Leno transcend the myth he'd cultivated? Viewers reported feeling strangely liberated, as if they'd been invited beyond the velvet curtain into a candid living room, rather than a polished studio stage. The letter he read to Mavis, trembling as he delivered each line, became the symbol of this new chapter. Proof that even late, night icons could shed their armor and expose a softer, more fragile core. For many, that vulnerability resounded more deeply than any punchline ever could. Meanwhile, the publishing world experienced its own frenzy. Jay's memoir outsold every big-name celebrity released that year, not because of some lurid promise, but because it offered a roadmap for legacy redemption. Book clubs scheduled, truth nights, where members gathered to discuss the mechanics of contrition and the psychology of catharsis. Communication experts praised Jay's timing, revealing a lifelong secret only after a pivotal personal crisis. when the public could sense he had nothing left to protect but the dignity of his confession. Television networks bid for rights to dramatize the Eleanor affair, but Jay remained cautious, determined that any adaptation honor the authenticity he'd finally embraced. Back on YouTube and social media platforms, the response was mixed but instructive. Superfans posted vlogs dissecting Jay's body language during the confession, analyzing micro-expressions, hand placements, and pauses for signs of sincerity. Critics, meanwhile, theorized that his revelation was a calculated move to rehabilitate his brand ahead of transitioning into new media ventures. Yet, whether viewed as masterstroke or mea culpa, the confession itself became a case study in modern reputation management. How to pivot from denial to disclosure, from protective silence to proactive transparency. In professional circles, Jay's move was lauded as a blueprint for leaders in every field. At corporate conferences on crisis communication, a video clip of his televised apology spooled across giant screens, while keynote speakers broke down his strategy hook with vulnerability. Humanize the narrative, own the mistake, honor the partner who endured the fallout. CEOs taking notes weren't seeking Hollywood scandal. They craved lessons in authenticity that could restore trust after brand missteps. In classrooms, marketing professors assigned the Leno disclosure as essential reading, prompting debates on whether entertainment figures carried a heavier moral weight than other public personalities. Amid the analysis and the accolades, Jay returned to his routines. Morning coffee with Mavis when she recognized him. Afternoon strolls through their neighborhood, late night hours in the garage tinkering with his 1907 white steam car. Each activity felt infused with newfound relief. No longer did he have to guard every syllable, sculpt every anecdote to protect an unblemished image. Instead, he spoke as an elder statesman of comedy, grateful for second chances, aware that laughter and honesty shared the same root, the courage to reveal what's real. Still, not every chapter concluded with home, movie warmth. Some die. Hard critics argued that Jay's partial admission merely traded one secret for another. What other missteps lingered unpublished? They pointed to stories about joke appropriation and backstage power plays, suggesting the memoir's selective honesty might be another exercise in controlled omission. Yet even these skeptics conceded that Jay's willingness to stand before the world and confess at all had changed the conversation about celebrity accountability. In an era of rapid-fire scandals and instant digital outrage, his methodical, deeply personal reveal felt almost revolutionary, a reminder that time, context, and human empathy could still temper the thirst for sensationalism. As the public digested Jay's story, networks quietly rewrote late-night lineups. Producers approached him with offers for anniversary specials, fellow comedians extended invitations for joint podcasts, and streaming platforms requested a series on Icons in Confession, positioning Jay's memoir launch as Season 1. Surprisingly, he declined most overtures, preferring a modest prime-time documentary that aired just once. He insisted that any further exploration respect the dignity of those involved, particularly Mavis and Eleanor, whose lives had become entwined with his narrative. His stance underscored the paradox of fame. Even in confession, some truths demand discretion out of love for the people behind the headlines. Today, Jay Leno stands at a crossroads uncommon in Hollywood lore. He has outlasted rumors, ratings wars, and the corrosive power of half-truths. Instead of papering over cracks with corporate spin, he chose to shine a light into the crevices, letting imperfections breathe. The applause that followed his confession was not just an endorsement of his fortitude, but an unconscious promise from viewers to embrace complexity, to allow for human error, and to celebrate resilience over perfection. In the end, the Jay's greatest punchline wasn't a joke at someone else's expense. It was the revelation that the hardest story to tell is our own.